Hi there. So the dengue outbreak this year has been more deadlier in the country, especially in northern India, since ever. In fact, this is the D2 strain, which the experts are pointing out at, which is leading to an upsurge in the number of cases that we're seeing, also severity in infection. Visuals are coming out from all parts of the country, especially, like I mentioned, from northern India, where hospitals are filled with dengue patients, and it's not a good situation. Joining me is Tejender from Jammu and also Anshul from the national capital. And I'll come to you, Tejender, first because in the last couple of weeks, Jammu especially has seen an uptick in the number of dengue cases, and the situation does not seem very good. What have you been gathering from the ground?
See, Runjun, you rightly pointed out that the situation does not seem to be good. Yesterday, I spoke to the officials in the health department and they gave me the figures. The figures are really scary right now. You see, in Jammu and Kashmir right now, there are 1,187 patients who are suffering from dengue. Out of these 1,187 patients, 711 are from Jammu's region alone. So rest of them are from Kashmir side. You see, even though the winter has already set in several parts of Kashmir, but the number of people suffering with dengue is increasing. The sanitation continues to be the biggest cause. If you go around the Jammu city, you will see that there are heaps of garbage lying everywhere. We have been bringing this into the notice of the Jammu municipality, but it seems that they are least bothered. Earlier last year, we saw when the corona was at its peak, the officials from the Jammu municipality, they were busy doing fogging, which was just unnecessary, a wastage of money. But today, when the dengue threat is looming large, the people are suffering. Mosquitoes are every place has become a breeding ground of mosquitoes. You see stagnated water everywhere. But it seems that the municipal corporation here in Jammu, they are sleeping over it. No, not many measures are
All
being
right.
taken. When I visited the hospital where these patients who are suffering from dengue, they are being treated. You see, there is a huge rush. The facilities are limited. The infrastructure is limited because it seems that this is for the first time that hospitals in Jammu, earlier it was because of the COVID-19, the hospitals were overburdened, and now in Jammu region the hospitals are overburdened with the cases of dengue,
With
and
with
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 every
dengue, not
passing day
not
I'm
not a
told
good
by the
situation.
hospital authorities that the numbers are increasing. Yes, Runjun.
Yes, yes, and also Anshul, if I can come to you, is the situation similar, somewhat similar in the national capital as well? Also, if you could give us a sense of the figures, how many cases of dengue being reported from Delhi?
Yes, Runjun, the situation is even worse in the national capital because we have already seen more than 2,400 cases that have come up this year. Out of these 24,700 cases, more than 1,700 cases have come up in the last month. Experts were predicting that after Diwali, the cases of dengue might go down, but that has also not happened. This is because of the late monsoon that Delhi has received, and it's expected that once the winter sets in next month, the dengue cases will go down. But talking about the politics that is happening around it is really very sad. When you talk to the Delhi administration, the chief minister's side, they say that the MCD has not done its part. It has not cleaned the breeding grounds for the mosquitoes. It has not visited from house to house, making people aware of the precautions that needs to be taken against dengue. So yes, whereas the MCD is seeing that the Delhi government has been absolutely lackluster when it comes to controlling dengue this time around. So yes, in the past 6 months in the national capital, we saw a raging pandemic. We are now seeing air pollution. We are also seeing water pollution, and then we are seeing high number of cases in dengue. But the only thing that is going down in the national capital is the level of politics that we are seeing over here, and it remains to be seen if these political parties who are in different levels of the administration can actually get their act together and save
Sorry.
people instead of saving their vote banks. Ranjan.
Okay. Also, Anshul, you're talking about the politics which is happening in the national capital, which is a classic case. But also, could you tell me what's the situation on the ground? Are there still spots where there's waterlogging happening? Dirt not being cleared from the roads, from the garbage spots.
There are definitely these spots which have definitely become a huge breeding ground for these mosquitoes was raging the wrath on the people of Delhi. So yes, there are lapses. Definitely, there are lapses. I'm currently standing in the NDMC area, and I'd like to show you around in the visuals there. There are such spots where you can easily see water being gathered and dirty water being going around, and this is just below the NDMC mayor's office. So yes, there is lackluster behavior across the board when it comes to the political will, and the only thing that is happening is politics. The blame game is shifting on each other. The BJP is blaming the Aam Aadmi Party for the lackluster uh, approach to dengue, whereas the Aam Aadmi Party is blaming the MCD for not doing its job properly,
Yes.
and the reason behind the sudden rise in dengue cases this year.
Yes, in fact, those are horrific visuals that you're showing to us, Anshul, and just beside the NCD office, the NDMC office. Hard to imagine what other parts of the city would really look like despite an uptick in dengue cases that are being reported. Now, authorities are only doing so much, but we all know that as far as dengue is concerned, it can be prevented. What we need to do is make sure that we use mosquito repellents, also wear full sleeves clothes, avoid going to places where there's waterlogging, or at least see that areas close to your house are sanitized properly. Is that something that you see happening to gender in Jammu? In a sense that at least that kind of awareness in people, is it there, or people really don't care?
Runjun, unfortunately not. You see, there's lack of awareness. I have been traveling to far off areas in Jammu. You see, the sanitation continues to be one of the biggest problem. You go to the rural areas in Jammu region, you will find water logging everywhere. Even in Jammu city and so-called posh areas, the Gandhi Nagar, the Trikuta Nagar, which are considered to be posh areas, you will still find water logging on roadsides. So the authorities, it seems, they are least bothered, and even people are not taking this threat very seriously. As I pointed out, that more than 1100 cases have already been reported from the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and more than 700 from Jammu region alone. But if you venture outside, you will still see places where you have water logging. There are several places which have become breeding ground for mosquitoes. You see, those places, they are not cleaned. The garbage dumps, they are still everywhere. Even in those markets where you have large number of people visiting almost on daily basis, those places are not clean. You see, the people, they have been telling that it is high time for the authorities to take this thing, the spread of this dengue very seriously, and they need to take measures so as the further spread of dengue is contained in the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir before it's too late. Already the health infrastructure is overburdened with the number of patients that are being reported on daily basis. I have been speaking to the doctors who are attending the patients suffering from dengue. They are saying that they though they can treat the patient in the hospital, but they cannot stop the spread of the dengue until and unless the authorities and the people also need to take those measures so as to stop the spread and of mosquitoes. They also need to take measures that they don't provide breeding grounds to the mosquito in their own houses. But
Sure.
yes, there's lack of awareness, and the need of the hour is to spread awareness among the masses so as to contain the spread of dengue in Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, Ranjan.
Yes, yes, Tejinder. In fact, Anshul, let me come to you now. Tejinder pointed out how in Jammu there definitely is a lack of awareness which still persists. What about in the national capital? We know that for now there's no vaccine for dengue. All we can do is preventable measures, wearing full sleeves, like I mentioned, using mosquito repellents, and at least making sure that where you live, the areas are sanitized in and outside your house. Is it something that you're seeing in Delhi happen?
I'm so sorry, Ranjan. If
Anshul,
that
can you
question
hear
was
me?
to me, I have
Yes,
lost the
yes.
audio line. I cannot hear you right now.
If Anshul, you could give us a sense of uh, what what sort of awareness level is amongst people
No audio that I can hear.
in Delhi. I think we're having a problem with Anshul. We'll try and connect with him again. But Tajinder, you were pointing out how, as far as awareness in Jammu is concerned, not to the mark. There's no vaccine for dengue. All people can do is at least try and prevent mosquitoes to enter their houses. We've again got Anshul back with us. Anshul, can you hear me? Anshul, am I audible to you? Okay. So Tejinder, if you could tell us about Jammu and the hospitals in Jammu. You already told us that they are overburdened. But what sort of facilities are there for people? Are people fairly satisfied with the way hospitals are treating these upsurge in the dengue cases that are being rushed to in the hospitals, especially the government hospitals? And we seem to have lost connection both with Tejinder and Anshul. But the hope now is that since there's an onset of winter now, hopefully the dengue strain now will, of course, die down very soon. But the hope really is that these visuals that we are seeing from the hospitals across northern India, especially, for example, I visited Firozabad last month, and the situation on the ground was extremely upsetting because most of the people that were rushing their children to the hospitals, they weren't even sure what had happened to them. Most of these children, the experts and doctors pointed out, had vector-borne and mosquito-borne diseases. And even then, what I saw on the ground was waterlogging everywhere, lack of awareness in people. While the authorities would see a camera or two, they would try and pick the garbage or clear out a waterlogged area. But essentially, it's a story that repeats year after year. We know that July to November is the season where we see an uptick in the dengue cases, but despite that, we see that it's a little too late for the authorities to act. Like Anshul was earlier pointing out, the classic case in the national capital where MPD blames the government, Aam Aadmi Party in this case, and then the Aam
अरे मैं
Aadmi
लाइव सुन
Party
रहा
or
था
the
बस एक
Delhi
मिनट
government would blame the MCD. So it's an unfortunate situation, but of course people can do what they can do, and like I pointed out, it's important to sanitize your homes, sanitize areas outside your homes, and whenever you do go out in this season, make sure you're wearing full sleeves, full pants, shoes, cover yourself as much as possible, and of course, use mosquito repellents, mosquito spray. There are sprays available in the market that can be rolled onto your clothes, that can be put onto your skin. Parts that are open, which are showing when you go out. Extremely important. That's what doctors point out too. In fact, I was speaking to a doctor earlier who pointed out that it's important that you know you seek medical attention, considering that even if you don't need hospitalization, but you need to speak to a doctor, because antibiotics, for example, is a big no-no when you're suffering from dengue. It is something that can worsen your case, and a lot of people are doing that. Resorting to home remedies is okay, but again, a consultation with doctors is something that needs to be done. What's important is, while you're hydrating yourself, lots of fluids, basil water, papaya leaves, all that is important, but you need to consult your doctor. Tejinder, is that something that you see? Do people really seek out medical attention, or they only go to the hospitals when situation is extremely bad?
As I told you, that the people who are already in the hospital, they go to the hospital when the situation is bad, because many of the people, they don't even know that they are already suffering from dengue. They come to know after they go to the hospital, when and after several tests are conducted on them. As I earlier pointed out, when you asked about the question about awareness, yes, there is lack of awareness, and that is the reason that people, when they get fever or they get other symptoms, they tend to do self medication here in Jammu region. But yes, when the situation goes out of control, when the situation worsens, that is the time when they go to the hospital. Yesterday I was speaking to some of the senior officials at one of the government hospitals, where you have large number of these patients who are being treated. They say that these people who have come to the hospital, they come after their situation deteriorates, after their blood platelet count comes to a bare minimum, and that is the time when people do think that they should go and get themselves checked. And majority of those cases are turned out to be dengue positive. These are the people who initially try home remedies, they initially try self medication, but yes, the doctors are saying that they don't have that much of resources that they can go to every place across Jammu and Kashmir and spread the awareness. This is the job which has to be done by the local municipalities, this is the job which has to be done by the local administration. But unfortunately, you go anywhere in the town, you don't find any mention about dengue anywhere. You don't see a single hoarding, you don't see a single advertisement on any newspaper across the region. So it is high time for the authorities, because you see, as the winter is setting in, the authorities are of the opinion that this thing will go away itself, because during winters the number of mosquitoes would come down and their breeding would stop. But this seems that it seems that this is not happening right now across Jammu and Kashmir, and people are getting infected. They are being bitten by the mosquitoes. Even in Kashmir Valley, where you have also seen a surge of number of mosquitoes, where winter has already set in. So right now, the authorities need to move out. They need to tighten their belts and go out to the people and tell them that to take precautions and take those measures so as to stop the spread of dengue, stop the breeding of the mosquitoes, don't provide them an environment where these mosquitoes can
Yeah.
breed and then they can spread dengue. So right now, yes, the doctors, they are doing their job very well in the hospital. I saw doctors attending those patients, but unfortunately the patients were not aware that they are infected with dengue, and
Yeah.
they come to know about this when the situation worsens. Yes, Ranjan.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Tejinder. So, awareness, like Tejinder pointed out, is an important factor which has not been seen on the ground, despite the fact that year after year, this outbreak, dengue outbreak, is something that is seen in the months of July to November. The hope now is that with the winter onset, the number of cases of dengue will reduce. But of course, a word for the viewers, please get medical attention if you have fever, dengue symptoms, and especially if you have incessant vomit and abdominal pain, that is the time when you need hospitalization. That's what experts say. Thank you so much for watching.